Welcome to this explainer. We hear about the Strait of Hormuz in the news constantly, right? It's usually accompanied by alarm bells about global energy markets, tension, and conflict. But today, we're going to step back and look at the complete picture. We're going to explore how the world's most dangerous geopolitical chokepoint is also somehow its most overlooked natural wonder.
So let's kick things off with a hypothetical scenario. Imagine it's March 2026 and the Strait of Hormuz closes. The global economy doesn't just slow down, it completely freezes. Literally within a single day, you've got 150 massive tankers just anchored, stranded in open waters. By day 3, oil prices absolutely skyrocket. And give it just 2 weeks, global supply chains begin to seize entirely. The connection between this narrow strait in the Persian Gulf and, say, a wheat field in Kansas isn't just metaphorical, it's deeply logistical and chemical.
I mean, think about this. 21 million barrels of oil squeezed through a gap barely wider than the English Channel every single day. It is literally the jugular vein of the modern world. At its narrowest point, the shipping lanes are only 3 kilometers wide. You've got giant vessels, some of the absolute largest moving machines ever constructed by humanity, navigating this incredibly tight corridor. It's a massive, high-stakes operation that our entire modern world absolutely depends on. But hey, if we look past those massive ships for a second, we discover a hidden second world existing right alongside the first, totally indifferent to the oil markets above. There's the world of supertankers and geopolitics that we all know, a world that is only about 70 years old, tops. And then there's an ancient, breathtaking natural world that has existed for hundreds of millions of years, largely unseen by the outside world. Section 1. The Red Island of Hormuz. Mountains you can taste. Okay, so Hormuz Island looks less like Earth and more like a painted hallucination straight out of a sci-fi novel. Get this, the locals actually eat the bleeding red soil of their beaches. They use it as a spice in their traditional dishes. This soil, which is known locally as gelak, is so incredibly saturated with iron oxide that when the waves crash against the shore, the ocean itself turns a deep, rusty crimson. The islanders use this vibrant red earth not just for cosmetics and fabric dyes, but literally as a key ingredient baked into their flatbreads and local sauces.
And that perfectly illustrates the staggering geological diversity packed into this tiny area. Take Rainbow Valley, where the wind exposes over 70 distinct mineral shades that actually change color depending on the hour of the day. Below ground, you have the Salt Goddess Cave. It's an acoustically dead environment, a 6-kilometer cave made entirely of salt, where the walls absorb all sound, leaving you to hear literally nothing but your own heartbeat. And then on nearby Keishum Island, Chacoku Canyon features these dramatic vertical limestone walls carved by wind, where ancient people cut wells directly into the stone just to catch rare rainwater.
Section 2. Ancient Cultures and Ecosystems. Adapting to the Extreme. Moving beyond the rocks, the biological life here is just as wild. Take the Haramangro forest. This thing actually floats on the ocean, functioning as this elegant natural desalination plant that serves as a nursery for the entire Gulf's fisheries. Twice a day, the tide rushes in, and these incredible trees literally drink the seawater. Their specialized bark filters out up to 90% of the salt, and they just sweat the rest out through their leaves. If you touch a leaf to your tongue, you can taste the visible salt crystals. And it's not just nature. Humans had to adapt to summer temperatures exceeding 50 degrees Celsius, and they did it through brilliant engineering. Have you ever heard of badgers? They're these 1,000-year-old wind-catching towers that air-condition homes without a single watt of electricity. In the ancient village of Loft, these towering structures funnel the prevailing sea breezes down into living spaces, dropping indoor temperatures by up to 20 degrees. It's an entirely sustainable, totally solved technology that has kept generations comfortable in an otherwise unforgiving desert heat. Also, astonishingly, massive wooden ocean-going lenge vessels are still built right on the beach, strictly from memory. They completely defy the era of steel hulls and satellite navigation. Master craftsmen shape these ships entirely by eye, spacing ribs by arm's length, and judging plank thickness just by feel. They use heavy teak wood brought all the way from India, and these beautiful vessels are built to last a century in salt water. It's a tradition that's been passed from father to son for over a millennium.
Then there's the isolated village of Kumzar on the Omani side, where residents speak a dying linguistic fossil made of at least 10 different languages, deposited by passing sailors over 5 centuries. This unique language, Kumzari, is an incredible blend. You've got Arabic, Persian, Portuguese, Hindi, Swahili, and more, all mixed together. It's a living record of every single culture that has sailed through these waters, preserved right in the mouths of a few thousand people, whose lives are completely dictated by the rhythms of the sea.
Section 3. 5 Centuries of Empires. Holding the Gate.
You see, controlling this narrow passage of wealth is absolutely not a modern invention. Long before the very first oil well was ever drilled, this geography was the ultimate prize. When the Portuguese arrived, starving in the 16th century, they instantly recognized that whoever controls this 33-kilometer gap controls global trade. Commander Afonso de Albuquerque saw that you didn't need to conquer the entire Middle East. You just needed to sit at the gate. So they built a massive fortress out of red coral stone and completely dominated the flow of spices, silk, and pearls. So they introduced the cartaza, which was essentially the original geopolitical transit fee. This proves that the strategy of locking this gate has remained virtually unchanged for 500 years. Any ship that didn't pay for this pass was seized or burned, no exceptions. Whether it was the Portuguese, the British, or the modern nations patrolling it today, the core strategic calculation of the Strait of Hormuz has never wavered.
Section 4. 2 worlds, 1 passage. The collision of time.
Today, these two realities, the high-stakes geopolitical battleground and the ancient, serene natural wonder, occupy the exact same water. It's a surreal juxtaposition, right? Just consider the sheer scale of time here. Our world-defining oil economy is just a tiny 70-year blip floating directly above millions of years of geological history. We obsess over the daily fluctuations of Brent crude, but those concerns are practically invisible when compared to a millennium of traditional wooden boat building, let alone the 600 million years it took to push these magnificent salt domes to the surface. While millions of barrels of oil move above, down below, the flamingos, the dolphins, and the floating forests simply go about their ancient routines, entirely indifferent to the warships and supertankers passing just kilometers away. The hawksbill sea turtles return to the exact same beaches to nest, completely unaware of the geopolitical maneuvering happening right off the coast. The natural world and the traditional cultures just persist. They are quiet, resilient, and holding on to an identity that has absolutely nothing to do with the oil beneath the seafloor. Which brings us to a final thought to wrap up this explainer. As the energy transition accelerates, what wonders will we finally notice when the oil eventually stops flowing? The Strait of Hormuz has been a corridor for pearls, for spices, and now petroleum. Someday the supertankers may fade away, but the bleeding red beaches, the silent salt caves, and the resilient people will remain, exactly as they always have. Thank you so much for joining me to explore this truly incredible corner of the Earth.